make a snake, put it on a pole, and when they are bitten, he tells them to look at it so you can live. Ushers, just for a few moments, I'm going to talk from this subject, a messy middle. A messy middle. A messy middle. Just a few weeks ago, during that spring break period of vacation, I had an opportunity to take my son out of town in order for us to engage in some fun and some laughter, to be able to get away from the status quo, to be able to get away for him, get away from school for just a few moments, to get away from the studying and constant band practicing to and fro, for me to be able to get away just for a few moments while I still work or even on the beach, but still be a chance to work but still have some type of fun. It's daddy and son bonding time. A pleasurable experience, golden opportunity, because I also realize that as he is getting older in age, going to be a senior next year, that those travel times together may be a little less. You know how grown folk or teenagers begin to grow up. So I'll take advantage of those opportunities, being able to put him on a flight, to be able to allow him to see and experience different areas of the world, to be able to show him that as large as the world is, it still has a small connection. So even in my travel, I begin to see people in different countries, in different airports, that will recognize them. They'll say, hello, Doc, or hello, Pastor. They'll be able to say those things in different countries, which lets us know that the world is a smaller place. You got to be able to get out past Macon, Georgia, get out past Atlanta, be able to get outside of the state of Georgia and see that there's a whole world for you to engage and engulf and even relish yourself in. While I was doing this on a particular day, every morning, got up, went to the gym. Of course, he slept in. Got a chance to go down to the gym, to be able to look at a beachfront from my view, walking on a treadmill. Began to see and look at the waves as they're coming and passing back and forth. Began to see people early in the morning. They're running along the beach. People doing exercises outside on the beach. People are already beginning to play in the water, get into the sea, have a good time, a relish in the moment. While I was there, I began to notice how the waves themselves began to come and beat upon the seashore. As I'm seeing this water come in, they're coming in like cycles, different cycles. One cycle of water coming in, the next waves are coming through. They're coming in through different cycles. Some of those cycles are light. Others could be at times vehemently beating a beat against the beach. Yes, they're tough. Sometimes they're even hard. But as I was there and I was looking out, walking along, trying to just look about, notice that there are men and there are women, there are boys and there are girls that's out there having a great time. And as they're out there, I'm also noticing that there are surfers that are out there. Surfers who have really got acquainted with how to ride the waves, how to pick what wave they may want to travel on. Some waves they let go by. Other ones they'll see and say, oh, this might be a good one, but change their mind at the last minute because it's not giving them the type of momentum they really want to have. Then there's some that they find that particular wave and they'll ride the wave all the way in. They'll ride the wave from one location to the next. They're sitting here and I'm watching these surfers do so, but I'm also watching how people are sitting on the edge of the water, on the edge of the beach. There was one individual that was sitting there and you could tell they were losing their balance as they were walking along the seashore as the water would come rushing in. Some were soft, they could just tread upon the waters itself. But then there was other ones where they had to stop for a moment and catch themselves because they knew that the waters were rushing in pretty fast. This particular one caught this individual, knocked them to their knees. And as they were trying to get up, another wave would come in, and another wave would come in, and another wave would come in, whereby they simply trying to hold their posture, hold themselves there on the seashore, not to be pushed away or pushed aside. While they're sitting there, it looks as if they're giving up. They're just sitting there. Now, as the water has subsided, an opportunity for them to get up and rush on back off of the seashore. Here it is, they just sat right there. Sitting here watching and wondering what's really going on. And as they were sitting there, another cycle of waves would come in. This time, the waves that they were coming in, they began to hit upon their side, thrashing water upon their face. This time, a little bit more water is coming rushing in. This time, another wave is coming in. This time, a next wave came in. But as the wave began to get larger and larger, I noticed that it was slowly but surely inching them back into the sea. It began to overtake them, overcome them, all because this person did not know how to handle the waves. Can you see the contrast in what's happening within the same scene? On one aspect, you find somebody who has learned how to ride the waves. Find somebody else that's sitting there being overwhelmed, overcome by the same waters, and have simply given up and just sat right there. And because of sitting there, those same waves that somebody was overcoming was now overwhelming to somebody else. You know what I think about that, ladies and gentlemen? That kind of reminds me about the cycles of life. Sometimes life can put us in some crazy cycles. And if we get to a point where we become so negative, so pessimistic, that we will be just like that individual that's sitting on the edge of the seashore where it seems as if just because the waters are rushing in, it has knocked us to our knees. We have given up. And all we want to do is just sit there and try to hold on because of the cycle of waves that are taking place. And before you know it, because of the fact of giving up, those waves are now pulling you further into a deeper situation. But on the other aspect, there's somebody else who's looked at different waves and cycles of life, who has looked at, they've gone through a test, they've gone through a trying season, they've gone through a season where they may have lost a loved one, lost a job, lost a situation, may have had some bad and negative reports, but they learned how to just ride the waves of life. To be able to say that this may be a season where God is teaching me, God is showing me, God is giving me life lessons to say, been there, done that, and not to repeat that again. It's amazing how, ladies and gentlemen, that we go through different cycles of our life. While I was sitting there, while I was on the treadmill, and that individual was just sitting there, and they're watching the waters come back and forth upon them, it kind of reminded me of a particular situation that I once went through in school. I remember there was a particular book that we had to read, and within this book, it began to talk about the various things of life. It began to talk about how different things happen in life, and sometimes we adjust, and sometimes we just don't adjust. One of the very things that was penned in this particular book, it says, we as a people hate change. We don't like, watch this, transition. We as a people, we don't like change. We don't like the way things are going. And the problem is, we just don't like transitions. In order to go from one season to another, God has to transition. In order to go from one place, in order to go from one level of an emotional state to a stronger level where you can say, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, and I'm better than this, you have to go through a season of transition. You have to go through a season where God sometimes may have to knock you to your knees. It's not a time to give up on life. It's not a time to find yourself allowing that situation to overcome you and overwhelm you and push you deeper and deeper into depression. But you take it as a tool and say, I'll ride this one out. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but sometime, somewhere, God is going to bring me out. I have to be able to ride the waves. You have to be able to handle life situations, because even the Bible says in this life, you're going to have tribulation. In this life, Job said, man that's born of a woman is of a few days, and those days, listen to me, are full of trouble. You're going to have some trouble. You're going to have various vicissitudes of life to knock you to your knees, that'll make you even question self. Am I built for this? Have I been called for this? Am I anointed for this? Am I able? Do I have the capacity to handle this? Is this from me? Or was this something that I thought that I wanted? Sometimes life will knock you to your core. Amen. Make you question who you really are. I found out that a lot of people hate change. And what they really dislike about it is that they hate the journey of transition. They hate the pathway that God chooses to place us on. It's not a journey that we will pick. In fact, if God will place before you, this is where I want you to be, and this is what you have to go through. If God will show us up front that this is what we will have to go through, many of us will probably say, you can have it. You can keep it to yourself. You gotta say it. The problem is, we dislike transition. Death of a loved one is a transition. I don't care how much you try to prepare. I don't care what type of insurance policies and wills and estates you have put into place. Nobody is really prepared for that transition. Transition is hard. Transition is something that we just don't want to have to go through. And truth be told, ladies and gentlemen, every last one of us in this room here today, under the sound of my voice, you and even this time, all of us are going to have to experience the tragedy of transition in death. Look at somebody and say, I know that's right. I know that's right. I know that's right. We're all going to have to go. All going to have to go through that. We're all going to have to deal with some things in life that we truly do not want to have to go through. And even in that author, as he was writing, and his name evades my mind, memory, been some years ago. But even in that book, there are a couple things that stands out. Some of the things that he'll simply say is, we love to arrive to our destination. We love to get to that place. When I look back over my life and see where the Lord has brought me from, we like that position. But going through the motions and going through the journey and going through the process of life, those are the things we just don't like to do. In fact, the author says we just hate going there. We hate getting there. We hate the process of what people have to go through often in our lives. We love events, but we hate planning. We love those high moments of life. We love the accolades, but the story, the time, the blood, the sweat, and the tears behind those things, many people shall not ascribe to. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, Problem is that if we are not prepared, if we're not in a place to follow the transition, the place that God has for us, the things that we have to go through in life, we will always remain stuck. That's why I like to even call it the messy middle. Because we may see the beginning and we hope what the end shall be. But sometimes if you're just honest with yourself, that in between time can get messy every now and then. Ooh, I know you're right. It can get a mess every now and then. Emotional roller coasters that we're going on. You're up one minute, you're down the next. You're laughing one second, you're crying the next. You're laughing in the same sense. Tears of sadness coming down your face. You don't know if you're coming. You don't know if you're going. You don't know if you're in your right frame of mind. Sometimes you forget your own name because all the things you have to go through in life. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, if we're not prepared, if we're not there to go through what I call the messy middle, we will always remain stuck in whatever God has put us in. God will put you in some situations, and He desires that you make up your mind to say, I'm going to trust Him, and I'm getting out of this. Because I've understood, ladies and gentlemen, happiness is a choice. You can't tell me that, I may not have any money, but I can still be happy. Amen. I don't have to have a significant other, and I can still be happy. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, I can just be happy all. I wish I had some witnesses in here. I can be happy all by myself. I've been guilty. Yes, I've scrolled through social media. Yes, I've been guilty. And I see some of the horrific posts in the stores. And boy, I tell you, I pull out my popcorn, I get my Sprite, and I say, no, thank God, I ain't got to go through. I choose to be happy. Yes, sir. Happiness is a choice whereby we choose to go through those particular things. And even in that messy middle, God allows things to happen in life, and His desire is you say, with God all things are possible. In a bad situation, you can look at yourself and say, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, guess what? I fear. That's a choice. That's a choice. Somebody shout, that's a choice. I refuse to walk around in fear. I refuse to walk around my head hung down. I refuse to be sad all the time. I refuse to be depressed all of the time. I choose to be happy. As for me and my house, that's a choice. Somebody shout, that's a choice. That's a choice. God chooses to put us in situations and hopes that His desire is that we will choose to come out of it. It is His hope. It is His plan. He has an expected end. Not to hurt you, not to harm you, but to make it better. To make you stronger. To make you say, you've been there, you've done that, and you are a better person because of that. And in order to get that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to be honest with you. I would say a large, vast majority of us have to understand that sometimes our in-betweens can be a holy mess. It can be a holy mess. Got a young lady that's pregnant. Let me restate that statement. I have a young lady that is employed at Grace Learning Center that is pregnant.
Turn that around.
Yes, Lord. See, he said it. See, right there. Go back, rewind. That is pregnant. And she's at a point of where she's going to be having the baby very soon. And it makes you think about the process that God puts us all through. There's a process. The baby goes from being conceived to the point of being developed to a point there is the birth. There's something that God places. I'm going to take my time. There's something the Lord places within all of us that we conceive our giftings, our anointings, our callings, our enablements, our propensities, whatever the case it may be. God places those gifts on the inside of us. And in that messy middle is where you begin to grow and to develop. In those stages, in those areas, in those seasons, God begins to develop us. And then after the development, there comes the birthing. Because what happens is, as you are developing, having normal birth, healthy birth, as you are developing, there comes a point in time where the baby can't stay. Because it's outgrown.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yes.
It's outgrowing the place where God has put you to grow and develop. Because of that, there comes a point that now he has to release, he has to birth you into that next season in life. And if you choose to not be birthed, you'll die.
Woo.
God developed you. You choose to stay stuck, you'll die. After he developed you, he grows you, and you have outgrown the space and the place that God has only for a season of your life, you'll die because you stayed stuck. You stuck with what they did to you last year. You stuck how they talked to you. You stuck because he left you. You stuck because the marriage didn't work. You stuck because daddy died. And there comes a point that God is developing you in a season, in a time, and in a place that he wants to make you wiser and to carry on, to move forward, because there are greater things ahead. There are bigger things ahead. There's more that God has on the inside of you because he's developed that in you. But if you stay in that place and you stay stuck, baby, you will die.
Preach it.
So it is in the text. The text begins to deal with some things. The text begins to talk about some things that the children of Israel are having to face themselves. If you remember, you can see for yourself, the Bible tells us how the children of Israel, this last Sunday, the children of Israel are headed to their promised land. God was growing them. God was developing them. God was moving them from one space to the next. Insomuch that it come to this 40-year mark, whereby now they are standing at the brink. They're standing in the horizon, being able to see the promised land, Canaan, in which God had promised unto them. To finally see, to touch, to walk upon that place where the grapes are overwhelmed. To be able to see that land that's flowing with milk and have honey all over the place. To be able to experience the joys and the laughters of life that God had given unto them. And the children of Israel are now headed to that place of promise. God has sent Moses down into Egypt already to have them delivered. He sent them there to have them liberated, to be able to take them to this place that is called milk, to this place that is flowing with milk and honey. He's done with so many different things, and now the Bible teaches us that the children of Israel, who were supposed to be out of Egypt, now still have Egypt stuck within them. Come to a place in this 21st chapter where they're now complaining. At this point, they're in this place in their life that the things that they are supposed to be headed to, the land of Canaan, that have been brought out of Egypt. God said there's a process that you have to go through. There's a wilderness that you're going to have to experience. And unfortunately, there's going to be a messy middle that all of you are going to have to deal with. There are going to be times that you're hungry, but I'll give you a quail from upon high. There'll be times that you'll be thirsty, but I will give you water from a rock. He said, I'll take care of you, and I'll give you things. I'll take care of you as I see the need, and not necessarily when you want things. God says, just because you pray about it does not mean it's about to happen immediately. There's some things that we just got to wait patiently on. Children of Israel, they're at that point whereby now they're looking at Canaan, they see Canaan, and they're now at this place where they're just lifing life. They're going through situations, they're going through experiences, and now they're wanting to walk into the promised land. But while they're walking there, they start to murmur, they start to complain, and God has to deal with them. God has to press pause onto them, because in their developing stage, they did not pass all of their tests. Can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that sometimes if you don't pass your test, God has a retake for you. I'm here to tell you that God can reconstruct some things for you. It may not be the exact test, but God can give you the gist of the test to be able to show you if you really understand. If now you can comprehend to not trust in man, but put all your trust in the Lord, to be able to lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and let God direct your path, to not have any other false witnesses, not to be able to have any other false gods before me. Stop making all these golden images. There shall not be another God before me. Have you learned your lesson? God is there. God is having to take them to this place, take them to through this messy middle. And I pray that most of us, ladies and gentlemen, we learn how to quickly pass without so many retakes, how to pass our tests, how we can go forward and move forward in our lives, how we can be able to trust in God, how we'll be able to grow past, watch this, our insecurities. To be able to know that just because things are not going according to plan, God still has a plan. To know that God is still working over in our life. He's still taking care of us. He's already promised that he'll never leave us, nor will he ever forsake us, that God knows what's best for all of us. Now the children of Israel, in this messy middle, dealing with this period in their life, they are so vulnerable to so many different things now. All because things are not going as planned. They're in a battle. They're in a war. They're in a battle and a war within themselves. They're struggling with themselves. They're struggling the fact of the promise that God has given unto them, but they just have not seen the promise yet. They're struggling in the messy middle. They're struggling in between Egypt and struggling in between Canaan land and not knowing how to handle inside of the middle. Same way with us. Sometimes we may not know how to handle what's in the middle. We can be in the middle or in between jobs and simply lose our minds. We can be in between the interview and the callback, but still lose our mind. We can be in between relationships, and the things that you learned in the past relationship should be things that you should not run back to moving forward. There are some things that God is trying to teach us in between time, in between the apartment and the house, the lease, rent, and mortgage. there comes a point that God is working on the inside of us for our favor. Let me hurry up and give you these things here real quick. Number one, I hope y'all write these down. Number one, the Bible tells us in the very first verse, it shows unto us how the Canaanite king, Rad, who had lived he saw that the children of Israel was coming upon their promised land. And upon them being within hand's reach, Erica, the Bible says that same king chose to attack them. He chose to attack them. Why? He chose to attack them because what God will do in messy situations, God will do this. He will give you confirmation of your closeness to your conclusion. That don't make sense. He will give you, watch this, confirmation of how close you are to your conclusion. He will give you, catch this, confirmation. That's why the king is upset. Because the king realizes you are within hand's reach, Israel, of getting to that final destination that God had promised unto you. To give you that place that he told you 70 years you're going to have to dwell here, so you might as well become comfortable, build houses and dwell in them, to have your children, to plant gardens and eat of it. He says you might as well stay right here because there's a promised place ahead of you. What God will do? God will give you confirmation, watch this, of your closeness to your conclusion. He will allow a king to become so upset with you that he will bring on holy Hades just prior to the blessing. God Almighty. You wonder why you catching? You wonder why it's been hard? You know why it's a struggle? You wonder why all of a sudden these things are coming out of the blue? You wonder why you've been praying, you've been fasting, you've been trying to do right, and it seems like you're getting closer to your situation, but it seems like the sky falls, the rain falls out of the sky. It seems like the carpet is pulled from up under you, and it seems as if things are not working according to plan. You're catching all of this Hades out of nowhere. It's only because the devil sees how close you are to your breakthrough. You are within hand's reach. And if he can take the last swipe at you, if he can take the last sucker punch at you, if he can throw the last javelin, if he can throw the last lie at you, if he can throw the last diagnosis at you in order to stop you from getting where God wants you to be, he will do whatever it takes to get you off course. But what God will do, he will give you confirmation of how close you are. He'll want you to wake up and say, that battle's not even yours. It's the Lord's. He'll tell you, don't worry about what they say about you, because in due time, I'm going to cut them down. He said, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. You don't have to repay. God said, if you get back, I'll get back. Y'all miss what I just said? He says, I want to show to you that I have you covered. Verse 1 says, the king heard that the children were coming. They're coming along the road near the promised land. And in this year, in this time, in this moment, the children of Israel who have been in this wilderness, who've always had this stuff thrown at them, have always had these issues coming at them, just within hand's reach, here comes this king with another attack. And I wonder, ladies and gentlemen, how many of us have seen the enemy try one last time just before our promise? He'll try one last step before we enter into our promised land. He'll always try to cause some problematic situations when things seem to be going well. When you finally get on the same track, it seems like the enemy will throw everything but the kitchen sink at you. He attacked him. He attacked him in so many different ways. Watch the text. And here it is. The Bible says, when he heard, in verse 1, when the king heard that Israel was coming along the road, he attacked them and he even captured them. He devoured them. He said, ain't no way I'm allowing you to get this blessed. Ain't no way I'm going to allow you to be stuck in your past, but be delivered from your past. Ain't no way I'm going to allow you to live a happy life. I got to keep reminding you of where you came from. I got to keep reminding you of who you used to be. I got to keep reminding you of when you've fallen short of the glory of God. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when God got something for you, it is for you. You got to be strong enough to be able to understand that this battle that you're going through right now, it's a battle that the enemy is using because it's his last chance. It's his last chance. The Bible says, and while they're there fighting, while they've been captured, Israel made this vow unto the Lord. Israel said unto them, Lord, if you would just deliver these people into our hands, we will totally destroy them. If you just answer this prayer, because we're right there, we're within hands reach, we know that we're on the right track because it's staring us in